Food insecurity is one of the most serious issues facing Canadians today. 1 in 8 Canadian households are food insecure, meaning there are millions of people in one of the wealthiest countries on earth who do not have reliable and stable access to food that is sufficient, safe, and nutritious. Many individuals struggling with food insecurity are forced to turn to food banks for assistance.
The Samaritan House in Brandon is Manitoba's second largest food bank. They distribute between 80 to 100 food hampers per day, with 20,000 hampers distributed per year. Food banks face a serious shortage of donations, and demand is increasing rapidly. They need more than 147,000 pounds of food each year to provide for their clients' needs.
Fresh produce is most desperately in need. The prices for fresh produce are increasing at an alarming rate, making it harder for families to attain. Over the last 3 years, the vegetable index has increased by over 18%, while the food index has only increased by 3.1% in Manitoba. In 2020, this meant an additional $411 to the average Canadian family annual grocery bill. This substantial increase in cost makes basic nutrition harder to achieve.
In 2012, our team conducted a needs assessment with the Samaritan House on hunger in Brandon. This assessment revealed that demand on the food bank had doubled in the past 10 years, and since then it's doubled yet again to be more than 1,800 people per month.
At Enactus Brandon, we saw a way to combat this, and we created Green Futures.
Today, we would like to share our story on how we saw a need, came up with an idea, empowered our community, and impacted our city in a positive and sustainable way.
Our story began back in 2012 when an opportunity to partner with the Samaritan House arose. We came together to develop a community garden that would provide families fresh produce and empower those who relied on the food bank.
We found low-income participants who didn't have the opportunity to create a garden for themselves, many of whom already personally relied on the Samaritan House for assistance.
What came of this was our original garden, Green Futures East. Through years of development, this garden was so successful and had so many returning members that they took it upon themselves to run the garden. They created strong relationships with their neighbors, took care of each other's gardens in their absences, and facilitated their gardens each spring independent from our Enactus team.
We had previously ran another garden, Green Futures BU, located right on our university campus, which is able to grow over 1,300 pounds of fresh produce each year for our campus food bank. We then made arrangements with the Brandon University Students' Union for them to take over management of the garden, guaranteeing its sustainability well into the future, while also providing student employment through the creation of a garden coordinator position that is compensated with a tuition rebate. Green Futures BU also participates in our university mini-youth summer camp program, providing young campers an opportunity to learn and experience the benefits of gardening from a hands-on perspective. 2
community gardens were not enough. Our downtown core still lacked any accessible green space that would provide for a sustainable growing opportunity, and our Samaritan House was still expressing desperate need for our support. So we went back to our roots to address this in the way we know best. We built 81 raised garden beds, and our third community garden, Green Futures North, was born.
With 81 garden beds, each producing approximately 45 pounds, we can produce more than 3,600 pounds of vegetables. Additionally, we have a large ingrown plot growing food directly for the food bank, which produced around 400 pounds of food this year. Together, this totals over 4,000 pounds. At a cost of approximately $4.35 per pound at the store, we have generated more than $17,500 of economic impact.
This past summer, we worked with 17 local families to help them grow fresh vegetables. For an average family with 2 beds, our gardens provide them the opportunity to grow themselves 90 pounds of fresh produce, worth approximately $390. With an average of 4 individuals in each family, we directly worked with 68 individuals. Any of our garden beds that are not used by community members are dedicated to growing food for the food bank itself, to ensure we are maximizing our impact. All 1,800 people who are reliant on the food bank gain access to nutritious produce through these garden beds, meaning our project impacted a total of 1,868 people.
This project has benefits that directly improve the lives of our community members by giving them the opportunity to grow their own produce, learn a new skill, and create lasting relationships along the way.
But don't take our word for it. Let's talk to Daniela, one of our gardeners.
The best thing about the garden is being able to grow things. I live in a really small apartment, and without Green Futures I would not be able to do that. Last year I got to grow some really big beets, and I'm really excited about the tomatoes I'm going to be growing this year. Plus, it's good to have a reason to get out and spend time in nature, and the money I saved on groceries last year was really helpful as well, especially after being laid off due to COVID.
Roughly 8% of an individual's carbon footprint comes from buying food, and of that, 30% comes from transporting the food to the store. By growing food in our gardens, our participants significantly decrease their carbon footprint. This results in a substantial environmental impact. For every pound of produce grown locally instead of buying it at a store, roughly 2 pounds of CO2 is eliminated. With 4,000 pounds each sequestering 2 pounds of CO2, Green Futures North alone eliminates 8,000 pounds of CO2 per year.
Our success has not come without recent challenges. Due to COVID-19, we were unable to provide communal tools to our gardeners this past summer as we normally would.
However, by putting in extra volunteer hours, we were able to till every single garden bed for our gardeners to spare them the need and establish a tool loan program that allowed gardeners to borrow whatever tools they needed for the season while abiding by the COVID guidelines.
Our number one goal at Green Futures is sustainability, both environmentally and financially. Our various partners in our community allow us to keep costs down while growing our impact. We obtained the land for the garden from the City of Brandon and are signing another land use agreement this summer, guaranteeing us access for another 5 years. The city also provides a shipment of topsoil each year for our gardeners to use. With our partnership with the Samaritan House, the garden is also able to employ a summer student each year who oversees the gardens growing food for the food bank directly.
Despite our project having minimal operating costs, to ensure that our project is sustainable and accessible to everyone, we incorporate a social pricing revenue model. Food bank families are able to access our gardens for free, while non-food bank clients pay a low price of $10 per bed to utilize the gardens. Approximately 30% of the beds are paid, which allows us to fund improvements and upkeep at the garden. By incorporating this model, we are able to cover our operating costs while still being able to provide low-income individuals with free gardening space.
We pride ourselves on being a zero-waste operation. Any waste from gardening production is composted at our composting bin by the gardens. This compost not only diverts this waste, but it also provides gardeners with fertilizer to boost production in their gardens.
We plan to take this a step further and implement our newest project expansion called Campus Compost. With a recent grant received from Scotiabank at a recent Enactus competition, we are in discussion with the university to implement a composting site on campus that will divert waste from our cafeteria as well as the campus gardens. This compost will be used to increase the production of the campus gardens, and any extra will be diverted to our gardens at Green Futures North. Our long-term goal will be to generate sufficient compost to be able to sell locally to generate an additional revenue stream for this project.
We have also recently partnered with another Enactus team from St. Mary's University to make even more out of the waste at our gardens. With their Square Roots program, they aim to redirect perfectly good food that would be thrown away into the hands of communities. They approached our team to create a Square Roots location in Brandon. Our team would procure local produce from not only our own gardens, but from other local farmers and sell the produce in bundles with support from the St. Mary's team.
These are not the only plans we have for the future. This upcoming summer, we plan to make our community gardening program bigger and better than ever. We've secured funding and space to build an expansion that will double the size of Green Futures North.
We are also in preliminary talks with our partners at the Samaritan House and the Brandon Keystone Center to create another community garden in central Brandon that will provide beds for residents of a nearby retirement home and even more space for the food bank.
As we expand, a portion of the garden will be dedicated to microgreen production. Microgreens are young vegetable greens that are harvested only 1 to 3 weeks after germination. They are highly nutritious, rich in flavor, and are often used in gourmet dishes to add a splash of color.
Microgreen production is scalable and has been proven to generate a meaningful profit. North America accounted for the largest market share of microgreens in 2020 and is predicted to continue to grow by 7.5% each year over the next 5 years. There are currently no microgreen producers in Brandon, which serves to illustrate the capacity for growth and expansion. Notably, with local food trucks, locally owned businesses, and farmers markets that attract customers that want a relationship with the producer and are looking for products that benefit the community and community members.
This summer, we will be testing production systems to find methods that are most efficient at our gardens. Seed will be distributed across various production techniques, balancing light, temperature, and other environmental factors. Because of the short growing season of microgreens, we will have seed propagation and production systems solidified by the end of summer.
Any microgreens produced throughout testing will be provided for use in the Samaritan House food kitchen. We will be utilizing this opportunity to connect with local food producers, as the Samaritan House has connections that will help enrich our distribution potential.
Our goal is to begin selling our microgreens at local farmers markets and to local restaurants by 2022, after we have solidified our growing procedures and established partnerships within Brandon. This expansion will allow us to hire one person full-time for the maintenance and management of our gardens. Our long-term goal is to turn our garden into a sustainable social enterprise. With our Green Futures initiative, we are successfully decreasing one of Brandon's biggest problems, hunger, by giving our community the knowledge, access, and ability to grow food all on their own.
Our gardening program is proof that a small team from a small town can have a big impact, but we do so much more.
Our team of just 22 members contributed over 2,000 volunteer hours with 3 additional projects.
With the WISE project, we worked with 36 new immigrants to improve their confidence in the Canadian financial system through a series of workshops.
With Money Matters, we developed a financial toolkit that has helped 250 young families improve their financial knowledge.
And with Community Creations, we provided workshops and support to 32 future entrepreneurs to help them get started on their entrepreneurial journey.
4,000 pounds of vegetables,
$17,500 of economic impact,
8,000 pounds of CO2 eliminated,
2,779 people impacted.
Life's a garden. Dig it.